Good evening, students. Welcome to this day 2 of chapter 2. So let us see who gets the e-chocolate. So Darshan gets the first. And then there's a photo finish between Diksha and Harshit. So Diksha gets to number 2 by 2 seconds. Okay. So we have Harshit, Kriti, Rajiv Kumar Singh. So good evening. Let us start our session. So I understand there is an exercise that you are all doing. Komal, Manisha, good evening. You are all doing that exercise that I had requested all of you to compile. Day after tomorrow, we are going to seek updates on that. Okay, so let us continue. Standard disclaimers. Then ask as many questions as you can. I'll have to answer them during the session. Nothing theory, everything practical. So this is the chapter we are in. Information system and its components. So, okay, because we've just started, so let us say good evening to Manisha, Kumal we talked about, then Bharat, Kavita, Brinda, and Dikshita. Great. So welcome all of you. So here, yesterday's, day before yesterday, we talked more about the components. Today, we are going to talk about the control aspects. Now, this flowchart comes from the module itself. See, how do you look to control? So there are ways of looking at control based on the objective, the nature, and what function it is adhering to. So based on the objective for a control, you could classify control as preventive, detective, corrective. Based on the information system resource it is controlling, so you could define the nature of control as environmental, physical, logical, and based on the function it is controlling, you could define it as a management control or a application control framework. Now, this classification is not going to be new to you. We have already talked about, we have taken many examples on each of these categories of control. So just keep a tag of it. This has to be a learning session. And this is, I will be asking a lot of questions in between. Probably we'll have a rapid fire round also as we had in one of the sessions. So it is going to be a learning discussion and very important for exam. Very scoring. This part is very scoring. You get good marks in examination. The whole idea that you must remember it, the way the definitions are created. Okay, so let us start. Now, classifications based on the objective. So we'll read through the definitions and then we'll take examples. So 3 classifications: preventive, detective, and corrective. So let us take the definitions first. Now, preventive controls. So these controls prevent errors, omissions, or security incidents from occurring. So the core purpose of this control is to prevent errors, omissions, or any security lapse from occurring. Characteristics. This requires good understanding of vulnerability. So we have discussed vulnerability in chapter 1 also. A reference was there in chapter 2. So this word vulnerability is again that word that is going to appear in virtually each of your chapters till chapter 5. So vulnerability. So I want you to write definition of vulnerability. We have discussed it out. So I'll be reading the way you write the definition of vulnerability. It's a good way of like a revision that you are going to do. Then, so you need to understand what is vulnerability. Then based on that vulnerability, you must be able to create an assessment or create a threat perception. Based on that threat perception, you need to necessary controls to ensure that that vulnerability or the risk that arises due to vulnerability threat is mitigated. So you have vulnerability, you have a threat perception, then based on that assessment, that calculation, you put in control in place. The purpose of control is to reduce, mitigate the impact of risk that may arise due to vulnerability and threat being there, ensuring that those controls are implemented, and controls could be manual as well as computerized. So we will be taking examples of all categories of control. Okay, then, so let us read through because this is a very important discussion. and very valued for your examination also. Okay, so I've got answers. Brinda, vulnerability is sensitive. Okay. Sunil Kumar, vulnerability means weakness that allows the threat. Great. So the word that I want you to remember, understand is weakness. The example we took, it's a good example at a cost of repetition, but must understand. Say, just imagine the studio I am taking my lectures from. The right side of the studio is a wall. Left side of the studio is the entry gate to this studio. So if that entry gate is open, that is a vulnerability. It's a weakness. Vulnerability is going to give birth to what we may call as a threat. So what is a threat in terms of, if I want to define it in terms of vulnerability, threat is an agent exploiting a vulnerability. What is vulnerability in the example I have taken? The gate may be open, or gate is open is vulnerability. What is a threat? A third person can enter. So that is threat. Okay. So we have got more answers. Diksha, vulnerability is weakness in system. Very good. That expose the system to threats. Fantastic. Rajiv Kumar Singh, vulnerability means weakness that exposes to threat. Great. Vulnerability, then we have Varsha. Vulnerability is ignoring security. No, not security is going to be uh, based on your vulnerability assessment, vulnerability calculation, you are going to put security in your system. But uh, no, we need not relate it directly in a single sentence as of now. Then Harshit, if assets are not properly managed, okay, it's a very generic definition, but the keyword was weakness. Okay, so vulnerability is there, then there is threat. An agent exploiting a vulnerability becomes a threat. How do you ensure that the risk that may arise from threat is mitigated? The third line in characteristics, you need control. So in the same example, we could have controls, say for example, physical control, because it's a topic that is going to come. So physical control we could have, say I'm putting this question back to you. So the gate is open and I want a physical control. So you need to answer what physical control can be put in place. Then for the same category, if I ask you that I want something more than physical or a different category of control, say for example, I could have a biometric access control. So same set of threat vulnerability, you could have more than different type of control. So security guard will become probably a physical, then I could have a biometric based access or a password based access to that door, that becomes a logical access. So the way you implement controls. Then in the same example, a security guard is manual control, and biometric based access or password based access comes control. So this is how you understand. This is how we learn. So try to imagine as much you can on preventive controls. And at after we close the 3 slides on preventive, detective, and corrective, we are going to have a rapid fire. Okay. So preventive control first. Second, detective control. So let us read through this. These controls are designed to detect errors, omissions, or malicious act that occur and report the occurrence of it. Okay, so they detect. If something wrong has gone, they detect. So these controls become detective controls. Characteristics is in understanding about lawful activities so that unlawful could be reported. Yes, so what can be done has to be defined by system. So defined in system, so that what cannot be done has to be captured. Then once you capture an activity that is unlawful, then how to report that. So that mechanism has to be built in system, how to report those unlawful activities. And detective controls are going to be talking to preventive. So they are going to be interfaced with the nature of preventive controls. One of the examples of detective controls given is surprise check. So detective controls. So detective controls are going to detect an error that may occur. Say for example, audit by its nature, intent, content is a good example of detective control. CCTV cameras. Okay. So detective controls. Then corrective controls. It is desirable to correct errors, omissions, or incidents once they have been detected. characteristics is minimizing the impact of threat, identifying the cause of the problem, providing remedy to the problems discovered by detective controls, getting feedback from preventive and detective controls, correcting error arising from a problem, and modifying the processing system to minimize future occurrences of the incident. So what exactly is corrective controls? Which correct errors which have come about. And one thing you can add is those controls whose purpose is to reduce, minimize the impact of loss that may be there due to error and omission that may have occurred. So these controls are in nature of corrective controls. Characteristics, first point says it, minimizing the impact of threat. You could say minimizing the loss that may also occur due to that threat, identifying the cause of the problem, what led to that problem, remedy to the problem, solution to the problem, feedback that this has happened. Because if you have to put these in chronological or sequential order, which has to come first. So preventive has to come first, detective to second, and corrective to third. Now, if need for using corrective control arises, that means preventive controls, that error, that omission has crossed the barrier of preventive and detective. So that is getting feedback from preventive and detective controls that how did it happen? करेक्टिव कंट्रोल यूज करने की जरूरत पड़ी ही क्यों? आपने प्रिवेंट क्यों नहीं किया? आपने डिटेक्ट क्यों नहीं किया? So that linkages has to be created. Then correcting the errors, and yes, last is very important point, modifying the processing system to minimize future occurrences of the incident. So we have preventive, detective, and corrective. Okay. So we are going to have a rapid fire. Just allow me to take a pen page and then we'll have a rapid fire. What I basically want you to write in the chat, preventive control. So I'll give you question one. I'll ask something. You have to say it is PDC. You can say question one is P, question two is D, like that. Okay. But there are some questions. Let me answer from the chat first. Good. So we have got good examples for corrective and detective controls. Good. So Darshan has put a question. How do detective and preventive control interact? Very good. So interaction, see, if you look to the chronology of controls or the way they need to work together. So first has to be prevent. So prevention is better than cure. Suppose this question comes that you arrange, these are the three categories of control. You place in a manner that is going to be, say, very effective for entities. So which control are you going to put in place first? So preventive, then detective, and then corrective. So that is how you put in place. Now, let us start from the bottom. Suppose there is a necessity that comes to use a corrective control. That means the error omission was not detected. Okay, any reason, leave that. So that this corrective control is going to ask question to detective. Same way, detective is going to ask question to preventive. So asking question is that interlinking has to be there. They need to understand the person who is going to manage, that individual is going to look after this, that how these controls have worked, what was the level of interaction. So they have to have a constant understanding, a constant learning to each other. Okay. So we want to start the rapid fire question. Allow me to take a page so that I note my questions the way I asked, and then I'll allow you to answer the questions. So I'll just take a pen. Yeah. So we are starting. So what I'll do, I'll be asking question and then I'll just note the question number. So you have to say question one is preventive, detective, corrective. So I expect you to answer question one, P, D, or C. So let us start. First, security guard. Second, password. Third, CCTV. Fourth, fire alarm. Fifth, backup. Sixth, insurance policy. Seventh, audit. Eighth, biometric system. Ninth, ATM pin. 10th, see a result. So I'll repeat. So first is security guard, then okay, good. Second is password, third is CCTV, fourth fire alarm, fifth backup, sixth insurance, seventh audit, eighth biometric, ninth ATM pin, and 10th CA result. So let us read through. So, so I'll read the correct answer. I'll not, because the volume will be very high. So I'll only read the correct answer and just tell you the score. Okay, good. So you can keep a note of your score, 10 questions, how you have answered. So then you, at the end of this, you tell your score, that out of 10, how many you got correct. Okay. So at the end, I'll just, let me do a last repetition so that you can keep a note of it. Security guard, password, CCTV, fire alarm, backup, insurance, audit, biometric, ATM pin, and C result. How many you score? Good. So first, security guard, preventive is the correct answer. Then second, password is, I'll just see whether at least one of you have answered correctly, but most of you have answered correctly. So password is again preventive. Third, CCTV is detective. Fourth, fire alarm. Fourth, no one has answered. Yes, at least one correct answer I can read. That is detective. Be true to yourself. Give yourself correct marks. Okay. Fourth is fire alarm is detective. Then backup. So let me see how backup you have taken. Good. Backup is corrective. C. Okay. Fifth is C. Sixth is insurance. Insurance also falls in character of corrective. Seventh, audit, detective. Eighth, biometric, preventive. Ninth, ATM pin, preventive. And 10th, there are no marks for 10th one. But we have talked about so 10th we are leaving. We are not discussing the 10th one. So someone says corrective, then someone says detective. Good. We'll discuss 10. So out of 9, how many of you get? So I'll request you to put your marks, how much you scored out of this 9. Okay. So that is first part, objective of controls. Good. So Diksha gets 6, Manisha 8, claps. Harshit gets 6. So it's a good score. Very good. All of you request you to put your marks. I'll read marks by name. If they appear, that means you have allowed me to read your marks by name. So I'll read them. Then the last 10th was CA result. So let me do it in a reverse manner. So CA result for my, as an individual, they are corrective. For elders, parents in the family, they are detective. That how you have been doing in since last 6 months. And if you get motivated by looking at other person's results, it's preventive. Great. So now I'll read the marks. I've got all of you. So yeah, Varsha is 6. Then Diksha is 6. Manisha 8. Harshit is 6. Diksha is 6. Rajiv Kumar Singh, you have put it, but it's I have 5. Sunil Kumar is 7. Madhvesha Krishna Bhatt is 8. No issues, Varsha. Varsha says, I got 6 out of 7. That is good. So you can convert into your own percentages. Good. So it's a good way of learning. Do remember. Now see, this preventive, detective, corrective, 3 words. There we talked about in chapter 1, 2, 3. We are going to talk about in chapter 4 as well as 5. So it is all, it's like all, in all chapters we are going to learn about it. Great. Okay. Then, nature of IS resource. So next category of control. So based on what your IS resource you are looking at, so your controls can be environmental, physical, or logical controls. So we'll be talking about what is the exposure and what is the control for each of this. We are going to take this also in detail. So environmental control, 3 categories of exposures could be there: fire, electrical, water, so and pollution, damage, and others. So If a risk is fire, then what category? So these are environmental sources, the nature of source that you are looking at. So you classify the controls as environmental. So let us go to the module and read through it. Just give me a second. I'm bringing a module. Just give me a second. Darshan says, sir, this rapid fire is preventive. I don't know. Okay. So if you learn good, then I'll take it as preventive. Good. Thank you. So here's the module. We'll go to the table. So now we are in the module environmental controls. These are controls relating to information technology environment, such as power, air conditioner, UPS, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers. So they are all categorized. Okay, so let us read them one by one. Now, because the table is there, it is with you in the module. So I'll not be reading the whole paragraphs. We'll just read the headers. And then what we are going to do, so against whatever is given, we are going to write the nature of it. So whether it is detective, correct, preventive, detective, or corrective. So let us do it one by one. Fire, it is a major threat to physical security. So what nature of control you can have? Smoke detectors, fire alarms, smoke alarms. So these are detective in nature. So we'll be only reading this much. Rest I'll request you to go through, read them through. If you have any questions, then do put in the chat itself. Now, but we want to see if you go to this big departmental stores or a big hotel, and you in the lobby or in the room you see at the ceiling, then you find small 10 rupee coin like circles which are housed in the wall itself. It appears like a asterisk mark in the hanged in the ceiling. So those are basically fire and smoke detectors. Okay. So you can see those smoke detectors there. So detective control. Then, so first is detective. Then norms to reduce electric firing. So the way the cables, cable you use for electrical fitting, how they are placed, how they are housed, so fireproof material, fireproof walls. So they fire resistant material to be used. So the norms that are used for electric fitting, where you use fireproof material, fire resistant material, it's basically preventive control in nature. Then fire extinguishers are basically corrective control. You use fire extinguisher to extinguish fire. आग लग जाती है तो उसको बुझाने के लिए प्रयोग करते हैं fire extinguisher को. So they are basically corrective in nature. Now I'll just read through this because some questions directly come on this table itself, this paragraph itself. Manual fire extinguishers can be placed at strategic locations. Fire alarms, extinguishers, sprinklers, instruction booklets, fire brigade numbers, smoke detectors, carbon dioxide based fire extinguishers should be well placed and maintained. So a lot of words have been brought in the paragraph itself. The heading of the paragraph talks about extinguishers. So that is basically corrective. But within the paragraph, other thing added like fire alarm. So fire alarm is detective. Fire extinguisher is corrective. Sprinkler is corrective. Instructions, booklets, what to do, what not to do will be preventive. Fire brigade numbers, you call the fire brigade in case of fire. So they by their basic intent, they are corrective. Then smoke detectors are detective. Now, a very technical word comes. This is carbon dioxide based fire extinguishers. So what is the relevance of these? So See, there are multiple types of fire extinguishers. Generally, we understand water-based fire extinguisher system. Then there are gas-based. So one of the gases, carbon dioxide. Then there are foam-based fire extinguisher. There are powder-based fire extinguishers. So each category of fire extinguisher has a designated use, where you can use, where we cannot use. By this simple discussion, a water-based fire extinguisher cannot be used to uh, douse a fire that is due to electrical short circuit, because water is a very bad conductor. So you use, say, powder based or foam based. So at different locations, based on the nature of fire, you use a different category of fire extinguisher. Because it is given in the module, carbon dioxide based fire extinguisher. So there is a very important condition before you start using a carbon dioxide based fire extinguisher. The condition is that this fire extinguisher can only be used where there are new humans, unmanned locations. So you use this gas, carbon dioxide based fire extinguisher in unmanned locations. So there's a question that sometimes comes, that if you have to use a gas based fire extinguisher, what is the first thing to do? So first thing to do is evacuation. Means in case of any fire, evacuation is a must. But if the nature of fire extinguisher or the nature of fire is such that a gas-based fire extinguisher has to be used, evacuation is a mandate. So there you use a carbon dioxide-based fire extinguisher. So a lot of words are given in the same paragraph. Now this become important for examination, and they are questions asked directly in MCQs also. Then next is fire alarm. So fire alarms are by their nature intent, they are detective controls. You could have automated fire alarm systems, and you could have a manual fire alarm system. So if someone sees a fire, he or she puts the alarm on. That is again placed at a strategic locations, and they must be placed so they're visible, so that the person who is in that area, he or she is able to notice. That is why if you go to theaters, those fire exit arrows, you must see they are in, like, generally you find it in green fluorescent color. They may be red also, because if you want to tell that this is a fire exit, in case of fire, the visibility has to be very good, because if there is fire, there may be smoke. So you have to, the signals, the fire signs have to be very bright. Then within this also, the two words are given. I'll just read them through. Explain you. Dry pipe, water based, halon gas. So gas based we have talked about. Carbon. So gas based are generally two: carbon dioxide and halon gas based fire extinguisher. If possible, carbon dioxide based are not used, because it's add to the uh, this green gases or in earth. So wherever possible, you use halon gas based, but halon is costly. Okay. Then there are two more words in this paragraph: dry pipe sprinkler system and water-based sprinkler system. The key difference is that the pipelines to sprinkle water in case of fire are already put in place. Dry pipe is where water is not filled in the pipelines. Wet pipe is when water is pre-filled. So suppose I have only defined to you. Okay. Uh, so we have dry pipe and wet pipe. What is the difference in dry pipe? The water is not there. So when suppose a fire is detected, alarm goes, so someone will start the dry pipe. So the water will be circulated in the sprinkler system, and then it will sprinkle on the facility. Wet pipe, the pipelines are there. They are pre-filled with water. So suppose a fire is detected, then someone just puts the system on. So because it is already pre-filled with water, it immediately starts the sprinkling of water. So question is asked that between dry pipe and wet pipe, which is more effective, which starts working fast. So you have to say which is faster between dry pipe and wet pipe if you have to sprinkle water on the facility. So I expect answer from you given an option: dry pipe versus wet pipe, which is faster. Based on the answer, we'll just discuss it out. Okay. Then halon is also gas-based fire extinguisher. Then this is very important: regular inspection and raising awareness. See, in fact, regular inspection, suppose I ask you like that, that regular inspection and raising awareness is preventive, detective, or corrective. So the best answer has to be preventive. The line is very thin. Okay, it may fall because, say, if you regularly inspect, then you find something not good. So it is detective in nature, but ensuring a regularity of that thing ensures that in case of fire, you have already put your system well in place. So it's very important. Raising awareness is again very important. Letting people know that what they must do or what they can do in case of fire and what they must not do. Like when you use a lift in your building, home, departmental store, so you find those warnings that suppose there is a fire, please do not use lift during fire exit, fire emergency. So regular awareness. And then next is again very important, documented and tested emergency evacuation plan across the world, across the globe. After the attack on World Trade Center, then we had this Fukushima disaster in Japan, and this 2 or 3 events have fundamentally changed the way people look at emergency evacuation plan. One was attack on World Trade Center. Then we had this big tsunami that happened that killed lakhs of people across. India was also hit. Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Sri Lanka were the worst hit because that tsunami came in that region of the ocean. So after these 2, 3 events, the awareness to emergency evacuation plan has improved a lot. Companies, organizations, and countries themselves ensure that their citizens are trained well. So this training, documented and tested evacuation plan, it must be working like that. So you must see whether fire extinguishers installed are working, the alarm systems are working. Just for the sake of understanding, see the lift that you take daily, वह लिफ्ट जिसे आप रोज प्रयोग करते हैं, उसमें एक अलार्म बटन है. किसी दिन आप दबा के देखें उसको. जो भी सिक्योरिटी के पर्सन उसको बोलें कि आज मैं इस बटन को दबाऊंगा, 90% chances are that the alarm button will not go, because since last so many years no one has used that. So that is testing the emergency evacuation plan. Very important. Let us see. Yeah, Darshan, emergency or corrective. Perfect. Good. Now, wet pipe. So you all answered correctly. Wet pipe is faster. But then, as we read through this, wet pipe carry a very different set of risk of seepage and leakage. So see, the point that I wanted to make was that whatever extinguishers you install, you always balance it out. The need of it, what risk it is going to create. So that understanding has to be built. Great, Harshit. Of course, means not using a lift is always good, but then sometimes you have to go to the 10th floor in the building. So then you need to use, you have to go daily there like that. Okay. But it's a good thing, Harshit. Okay. So that is first, environmental exposure, fire. Second, electrical exposures. Again, now this electrical exposures, their nature, intent, and content has some technicalities built into the topic. So there are few things that are technical. So we'll remember those things. Rest we'll try to learn through. So electrical exposures that come through electricity. So I'll read through the controls. First is electrical surge protectors. These are spike busters. You can take another name. You may also call them as, it's here, yeah. Power spike, it's written in the paragraph itself. Yes, here. So spikes are sudden increase in voltage. So if there is a sudden increase in voltage, the chance of your electrical equipment burning is there. So what you do, you must have seen those extension board with a fuse built into it. So what happens that these extension boards with fuse built into it, as soon as there is a very high voltage, the fuse blows off. So it ensures that the high voltage doesn't go into your system. So these are called as spike busters or electric surge protectors. Then UPS and generators. In case of power failure, UPS provides backup by providing electrical power from battery to computer for certain span of time. Now this is important. This word certain span of time has a relevance to it. So when you are using UPS and there is a, say, sometimes you relate to that. Suppose there is a short-term power loss, then in case of a short-term power loss, you use a UPS. But if there is going to be a long-term power loss, then you have to take help of generator. So this is how these words are linked through. So short span, you can use UPS. Long term, then you have to go to generator. You must have seen, those of you who are going to this articleship, and if you get a chance to go to for an audit of a manufacturing concern, I have already asked you that take a break, don't do any audit on that day, visit that manufacturing entity. So within that manufacturing entity, they have this big generators installed. So you go there, see the big generator, and when generator is on, the noise it creates and the diesel consumption. So they have a diesel tank built into that. So for larger power loss, you need electrical generators then. Then voltage regulators and circuit breakers. So this like surge protectors will cut off the power. Voltage regulators, they have got capability of, say, in India, the working voltage is 220 volts. Suppose you go in US, it is, I think, 110 volt, and some different in different countries. So these voltage regulators, what they do, they manage the, whatever is the input, they ensure the output is at a predefined voltage, say 220 volts, like that. Then emergency power off switch, yes, it has to be clearly marked so that if there is any electrical issue, you can just put off that light. Very, very important. Then next is water damage. I'll just see the chat. Any questions you have? Good. So water damage to computer installation can be the outcome of water pipe burst. Water damage may also result from other. So yes, so it can be, water damage can be through external, like right now we are in rainy season. So you may have floods like that. Cyclones do come. And then there could be a pipeline bursting. So that may also lead to water damage. So you need to have water detectors. You understand it. Then ensure that your computer room is strategically located. In fact, large organizations, they ensure that the computer room is not in the basement of the building. Why you must not have computer room or your servers in the basement? Because if there is a leakage, flooding, seepage of water, the first thing that is going to submerge is the basement. So then, so if you don't have computer center in basement, so you keep it on the top floor to save from the risk of flooding. But then if you keep your computer center on the top floor, the water can come from the top. That is why the head important. Strategically locating computer room. So you, based on the location where you are putting your computer room, see which is the best location where you can prevent it from water damage, maybe coming from bottom or coming from top. So that you need to ensure. Then it's a discussion. I'll just read through it fast. Whenever possible, have waterproof walls, ceilings, and floors. Adequate drainage has to be there. Alarm systems has to be there. Yes, if flood-prone areas, have system on upper floors, waterproofing and water alarms. Yes, we have a question. Varsha, yeah. Yeah, I was waiting for that question, Varsha. Very good question. Yes, you have, means companies have got UPS, which automatically start the generators. Yes. So the answer is yes to your question. There is a cost component built into it, but the basic answer is yes. Then pollution damage and others. So major pollutant is dust. That is why this today, means when 30 years back, 35 years back, big scale computerization started in our country. So then you must not be aware about it, but you ask elders in the family, those who have used computers then. So that time the whole computer had to be in a very secured environment, because the environment, the tropical region that we live, so we have a lot of dust. It is part of our atmosphere like that. So the computer used to go bust very fast, but over a period of time, technology has improved, so the robustness of system has increased, but still, like ATM kiosk, they keep it in closed environment, or even if it is open, but suppose you find ATM that is not in a closed environment, but the location where those open ATMs are, like they are at airports. So airport itself is very sealed off, so it doesn't have that much dust. Server rooms are kept in dust-free environment, air-conditioned environment. So it is basically saving your system from pollution damages. Then what controls you can have to save from this? Power leads from two substations. So you have supply from two electrical substations. Electrical power lines are exposed to many environmental dangers like water, fire, lightning. Sometimes there's a lot of infrastructure building is going across India, across city towns that we all live in. So sometimes the person who is digging the road hits the power cable. So then your power is gone. So that is why you can have a power lead from two substations. Then this is good. Prohibition against eating, drinking, smoking within the information processing facility. So ideally, this internet cafe was not a desired concept that you are accessing the internet and having your coffee, because your coffee can spill on the keyboard, the laptop, and believe me, the whatever life till you are using, all of us have made this mistake. So we have spilled our tea, coffee on our keyboards. Okay, but that is, so we learn and we improve ourselves. So that is environmental controls. Then we will take physical controls. First, let us go to the slide, and then any queries you have. Just give me a second. Yeah, there are queries. Darshan, good. So that means you need to balance it out. What Darshan says, that like for one type of control, suggestion is having the computer room on ground floor. For other type of control, they want to keep it on upper floor. So then you have to balance it out. You have to see the nature of risk at the location you are working. Then you take an appropriate decision. Yes, Dikshita, good. Someone had to ask that question. Dikshita has put a good question. Sir, emergency power off switch is what type of control? So uh, when you use emergency power off switch, so when, say, suppose there is a short circuit, then you put it off. So short circuit, because it is going to create larger loss. So in the given situation, the emergency power loss switch becomes like a corrective control. It mitigates the possibility of more loss. Right? It's not going to be preventive. Okay. Yeah. Then, yeah, Varsha has put, okay. I don't know whether you, I think XT use was, I missed the extension. Extensively extended technology. Yeah, extended technology. And 80 was advanced technology. I worked on this. Huh? Yes, Gundu Chandrasekhar has added to my answer to Darshan, that you balance as you balance your accounting concept conflict. The principles of prudence, materiality, substance or form, disclosures, materiality as concept build. So you balance it out. Great, Gundu. Thank you. Next, figure like physical access controls. So again, we go to the module. Now, the physical access controls are the controls relating to physical security of tangible and intangible resources. So let us read them one by one. So first is lock on doors. So by name, nature, intent, content, it is preventive. So the header is preventive. Then what category of locks you can have? So you could have cipher locks, combination bolting door locks, electronic door locks. I am not reading in detail. Second, physical identification medium like PIN numbers, a secret number to enter, again, preventive. Plastic cards, RFID cards, radio frequency identification device cards, or smart chip enabled card like your licenses, vehicle registration. Now credit cards, debit cards also have the smart chip. So smart chip enabled cards for entry. So they can also be used. Then identification badges, employee cards, you must have seen them. Then logging. Logging means recording who came. So all manual logging, all visitors should be prompted to sign a visitor log indicating name, date, time, company represented, their purpose, and the person whom they want to meet. Logging may happen at both fronts, reception and entrance to computer room. A valid and acceptable identification such as driver license, business card, vendor identification tag may be asked from the person before allowing him or her entry into the company. So you record in on a register that people may call as visitor registers. Okay. Same thing being done electronically is electronic logging. In fact, you go to visit any company now, they take your photo also, and you may be asked to sign a form, and then a visitor card is given. So a lot of technology is being used at every possible location. Other means of controlling physical access, video camera, security guard, controlled visitor access. Yes. Now, exactly what is controlled visitor access is, say you want to, you go to a company to meet your acquaintance, your friend, or for official purpose. So all your data is entered, details are captured at the security gate, and then a security guard comes to you. He or she takes you to the person intended location where you want to go. That is called as controlled visitor access. Now see, controlled visitor access is a good control. It's a win-win situation for all. For you as a visitor, it's a good reception. It allows you, it saves your time not to search, because large factories, you don't know where your acquaintance is located. For the company, it's a security aspect that when they send a guard with you, it ensures that you don't roam about, you don't look to the facility, take photographs, you go to the person whom you want to meet, that is. Then bonded personnel, all service contract personnel such as cleaning people, offsite storage service should be asked to sign the bond. This may not be a measure to improve physical security, but certain extent can limit the financial exposure. So all regular third-party visitors may be asked to sign a bond that if due to your fault something wrong happens, you will be held responsible. Then dead men or doors or man traps, these are specialized doors. Let's see if we can create a good example to this. This system encompasses a pair of doors that are typically found in entries to facilities such as computer rooms and document stations. The first entry door must close and lock for the second door to operate so that only one person enters at a moment of time. I'll tell you where this is more relevant. This sometimes, like you may be enjoying IPL or cricket, or now other sports, badminton, kabaddi, table tennis, hockey, football, lot of league games we are having in India now. And you want to see that match, and you are like 4 friends and you have 3 passes. आप 4 दोस्त हैं और 3 pass हैं. So then friends, what they do, because it is going to be rush, so they accumulate so tightly together that with 3 passes, 4 people can enter. So to save from that risk, you have dead man door, man trap door, which ensures that only one person enters. So only an authorized person enters that location. Then this one is easy. Non-exposure of sensitive facilities. There should be no explicit indication, yes, that something critical is kept there. So suppose you on the roof of a building that has a server room, the entity writes server room so that anyone can from space can also see it's a server room. So you keep it in secured location, you don't advertise. So critical locations are not advertised like that. Then terminal locks, these locks ensure device to desk is not turned on or disengaged by unauthorized person. So terminal locks, there are terminal login. Okay. So these locks ensure you cannot put it on. Single entry point, all incoming personnel can use control single entry point. A control single entry point is monitored by, so one person, only one entry gate, so that you can always keep a track who is coming in. Alarm systems we've talked about. Perimeter fencing is physically fencing so that no one can jump over and enter into your system. This is important. Control of out of hour of employer-employee. Yes, this is important. Employees who are out of office for a longer duration during office hours should be monitored carefully. So suppose 10 to 6 is the office hours and the employee is out for say 3 to 5 daily, he or she is out, then we must be asking questions why. And last is again very important, secure distribution card. See what happens, that you go to a bank. So next time you go to a bank, just observe that suppose there are 20 people working on computers. So there'll be 20 desktop laptops in the bank, but you try to count the number of printers. So against 20 laptop desktop, probably in the whole bank, you may find 2 or 3 printers. One printer is mandatorily in the branch manager's cabin so that he or she can use it whenever needed. Others are shared printers. So when you have this shared printers, printers generate output. So very strict control is kept on the output so that no one misuses that output. Very, very important. That is secured report document distribution card. So that is physical access control. Let me go to the slide itself, then we'll come back again. Chat refresh. Then logical access controls. A very big topic. User access management, user responsibility, network access control, OS control, monitoring controls in your mobile phone itself. So this is going to be a big topic. Okay, so we'll take it from the module. And again, a lot of technical concepts are built, technical terms are built. Remember those terms as they come about. So let us go to the module. Again, very important. Now see, this KYC, know your customer. Our institute has also started for their members, know your members. So this whole documentation of users is gaining a lot of ground. So when you talk about logical access controls, what you're basically looking at. So when I say logical access control, these are controls relating to logical access to information resource such as OS, application software, boundary controls, networking, access to database objects, encryption, etc. Now you have to implement. So you do implement through user access management. This involves the administration within a system for giving individual users the access to tools they require at the right time. So that is basically allowing users to log in. Now, how do you document a user? Validity, whether the user is genuine. So you have user registration. Okay. So just take it as a simple example that you want to create a ID on a website. So then you have to sign up. So when you have to sign up, you have to give some basic detail. That is. Then second, so this is about user. Then privilege management. Privilege means what user can do, what he, she cannot do. So this privilege management in a company will be basically linked to the job profile of the user. We have already talked about a word called as SOD, segregation of duties. Maker cannot be checker. Cashier can create a voucher, but cashier cannot alter a voucher. So that concept is basically part of privilege management. What a person can do, what he, she cannot do. Then user password management, huge It's a very big topic to talk about. So I want you to put in the chat, like you can write 2 or 3 things. So what I exactly, first you have to define the nature of passwords you create. Okay. So alphabet, numeric. So what combinations are there to create passwords? Okay. So right there. Then first is the combination, and second is the length. So the idea is that, say, specific organization like income tax, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, these statutory bodies create a definition that your password must be like this. So you have to tell me what definition they have created. You can take any example. First. Second, all these statutory bodies say that your password must be of this much length. So what is that minimum length? Not the maximum, the minimum length you must have the password created. It's a very good question, and then it's a lot of learning into it. Okay. Then next is review of user exercise, because people are working in the organization, they may leave, their job profile may change. So their password, the user access privilege, must always be linked to their job profile, what they can do, what they cannot do. Then, so once the password is created, now the responsibility of the user. So password use, always create strong passwords, maintain confidentiality. Okay. Then never leave your system unattended after you have created a password. So on this point, let me highlight it. Unattended user equipment. So can we have a security for this unattended equipment? See, what is the risk? Please understand. Suppose you are a bank officer and you are going to charge interest, or you can define interest in the borrower master in the bank, and you have logged into your system, and then you, for nature's call or for some purpose, you leave your seat. Your systems is logged in. So because your password has been put, so the screen visible is usable by you as an officer. A third person can misuse that screen. So that is what is called as unattended user equipment. So how to save from this risk? Ideally, we must not leave it unattended, but then how to save from this risk? Okay. So kindly answer this. Then. So password was this much. Let us see your answers. Yeah. Alphanumeric, using symbols and sign. Alphanumeric, minimum length 6. 2 to 8. I don't think there is no organization that asks you to have minimum. I asked minimum. So 2 is not. 6 and 8 is minimum, that I know. Alphanumeric with symbol combination, both small, capital, minimum 8. Yes. Patterns and numeric, good. Alphanumeric along with a capital IRCT, yes. Capital, small alphabet symbols, mostly 6-digit, yes. A combination of uppercase, lowercase, special symbol and number, great. Alphanumeric password with 8 characters. Yeah, so very good. So Sunil has given one option to the risk I talked about, logging out. Automatically log off. Very good. 8 to 16, yes. So logging off is one, and there is what you may call as a screensaver password, because see, logging, what happens if you go to the bank now, so the bank officers, they have a biometric impression to be put. So in fact, today the bank systems are mandatory logged out. If 2 minutes it is not working, log off. So they have to re-log into the system. That is the best option. Yes. Great. Next. So first we need to understand what is the exposure in network access. And then about the controls. So network access control refers to the process of managing access for use of network-based services like shared resources, cloud-based services, remote login, internet access. Yes. So I'll first share some live examples, then we'll go so that the understanding is good. Yeah, screensaver password was one I was waiting for. But then today, because the risk is huge, so in banks, they have a mandatory logout. So the officer, he or she has to log in again. In private entities, you could have a screensaver password. Now, what is network access control? So let us say network access is basically all things that are available on network, all things that you use through internet. So keeping access on that, keeping a security on that is very important. Say, for example, today you go in any high-rise building or a commercial building, and you put your Wi-Fi search of your mobile phone on. So you'll get 10, 15 networks. And as I understand, uh, there is a chance that you may find a network that is unsecured. Okay. Say you go to railway station, you go to airports, then you log in because railway network, networks at the airport, networks which are designated, they are secured networks. You know who is the service provider. But in a high-rise commercial building, 15 networks are there, and you don't know the service provider, you don't know the nature of security that Wi-Fi network has. You find there is an open Wi-Fi network, you log in your mobile phone to that Wi-Fi. It's a huge risk. Kindly do not log into any network for which you don't know the service provider, for which you don't know the nature of security built into it. So always avoid that. That is, so which network to use, where to use, how to use, when to use, what security that networks need to have. That is what we are looking at as network access control. That is the first aspect. You don't log in. Now consider the studio, this also as a Wi-Fi. So it is a secured Wi-Fi, means we have created a password so that no, even if it is visible to a third person outside this studio, he or she is not able to log in because a password has been created. So this is important. So you need to ensure the two aspects. Do not log into unsecured network and never allow your networks to remain unsecured. Just for example, uh, it has happened in India. Uh, some big city, there was an under construction building. Okay. So this under construction building, generally you see those big buildings which are under construction. So this, the builder or the person who is relating to construction, they open a very office in the building. So, and big projects are big, large scale housing societies are being built in India. So this under construction building, they had their office, they had a Wi-Fi, and because there was no resident, so this Wi-Fi was unsecured. Some person, some unknown person, he accessed that Wi-Fi, and by misusing the Wi-Fi, he sent a mail that was tracked by authorities and identified as a terrorist linked email. No, so that person who sent that email was identified as linked to terrorist, and so it was tracked by authorities. Now they track the authorities, they track the internet service provider, they track the IP address, the internet protocol address. So everything came out to that under construction building and to that builder's office where the Wi-Fi was unsecured. That individual had a tough time convincing the authorities that it is not my office, a third person. Somehow he was able to prove it, but then the risk is huge. So never leave your networks unsecured. So that is basic idea regarding network. Now, so policy on use of network service, I've told you, you must have a defined policy, what the enterprise is going to do, what category of networks it is going to use, what security is going to build. Then enforced path. Path means the way the internet connectivity, because see, please understand, we have in India organizations with more than, like railways has more than 10 lakh employees. Private companies, we have talked about Infosys, TCS, they have lakhs of employees. Systems are there, technologies are there, servers are there, laptops are there, people are accessing networks. So entities need to define everything dot by dot, point by point. So this also includes how an employee, he or she is going to access internet, what he or she is not going to do. I'm just sharing a very learning example. Some time back, for a professional assignment, we had to go to a nearby city. So it was just a coincidence that the day there was a meeting in the city. It was the day our finance minister is going to present the budget. Okay. Now, chartered accountants missing finance minister's budget. So we were a team of 3 members. So we discussed that whether we go on the budget day to attend the meeting in the nearby city. So we concluded that let us go there. And because we all have internet, we will be carrying the company has internet and they made systems available to us. So we will be able to access the finance minister budget online on a video channel. We went there. When we tried to access the budget from that company's system, we found that we couldn't do it because the company had a policy of allowing employees access to no video streaming website. Got my point? That is how you create a policy framework. What can be done, what cannot be done. Then next, segregation of networks. A technical word has been used in the para. I'll just define that. The word is VPN. Based on the sensitive information handling function, a VPN can be created between branch and head office. So what exactly is a VPN? So VPN stands for virtual private network. VPN is virtual private network. The idea is that virtual means which is not real. So when branch and head office are communicating through a public network, public internet service provider, you create security, you create encryption, you create password, you create protocols of communication. So even if the head office and branch are communicating through public network, but the security in the communication is so high that the public network appears like a private network. That is why you call it as virtual private network, VPN. And by the definition of the word, there are service providing companies which allow these services. So you can hire these services. The company person will come to you and convert your public network into a virtual private network. So we have VPN service providers also. That is. So proper segregation of the privacy based on the nature of communication you are going to do on the networks. Then remember this network connection and routing controls, how traffic is going to be routed through, security of the network services, the one who is providing, and this is very important, firewall. This is a preferred question. It is asked multiple times in MCQs also. So what exactly is a firewall? Okay. So let me read through, then we'll try to learn more on this. So a firewall is a system that enforces access control between two companies or between external and organization intranet must pass through firewall that will only allow authorized traffic between organization and outside to pass through it. So firewall basically prevents from external attacks, external spamware, malware, external threats to an organization. The firewall must be immune to penetrate from both outside and inside the organization. In addition to insulating the organization networks from external threats, external network, firewall can be used to insulate portions of the organization intranet. So you can create an internal firewall also, like this company, like we have Indian multinational corporation with manufacturing facilities across the globe. So then a communication from India is being sent to, say, somewhere in Europe or US. So it goes through companies intranet, but secured firewalls are there in this company's intranet also. So firewall is a security technique. What it does prevents the intranet of the company from external threats, and it can be put in place across the organization. Then network encryption. So whatever communication you do it in encrypted form. Encrypted is coded. So when you send a message in coded form, the risk of someone listening to that and acting is reduced. So coded form means you send a message in coded form. So even if someone is able to look to that message, he or she will not be able to draw the conclusion unless he or she knows the key to code it or decode it. So that is encryption. Network encryption, 2 words are given. Kindly say yes, no. You know what is the difference between private and public key? private key encryption and public key encryption? Kindly say yes, no. Okay, there's a question. Let me answer by the time you say it. So Swati has 2 points. I remember in my bank. Oh, okay, good, Swati. And you had to change your password every 15 days. Yeah. Firewall is a security system. Yes. And end-to-end encryption. Perfect. Water wall. No, I don't know it. Darshan. Okay. Okay, you don't know it. Yeah, Sunil, firewall is to protect system from. So let us do it in a very simple manner. Because this private public key is part of your Information Technology Act, and that is also part of course. So whatever we are going to discuss here in enterprise information system, even if not here, in somewhere in law, that is part of the syllabus. Okay, so whatever we learn, it will not be out of course. It will be in syllabus itself. So let me think about some good example. Okay, so what we'll do, it is 7:11. Okay, so let us take a break, and when we join back after the break, we'll start with a good example on private key and public key encryption system. It's a good example to learn. Okay, it's going to create good understanding about how technology is operating. So let us have a break. It's break time. We'll reassemble at 7:21. Okay, so welcome back after this tea break. Now we'll have a very good discussion on this private public key. It's only words here, but it's relevant for the chapter, the paper, and your understanding, and it will be part of information technology. So let us take a practical session on this. Darshan has a query, difference between firewall network. So Darshan, with this example, your query will be solved. And Sunil, okay, that is not exactly what it means. Let us see it through an example. Just give me a second. So what I've shared with you is an Excel. Now, we'll just try to learn what exactly is encryption, then we'll convert it into definitions, private, public, like that. So say, for example, I want to communicate. So I want to say ICAI. So I want to communicate ICAI like that. But then I don't want anyone to understand what is ICAI. Okay. Now see, please understand that technology as it exists. So this I is not I for computer, it is some numeric number. You must have read this word called as ASCII, American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So when you type I, the system doesn't read I, it reads this. So the digital equivalent of I in system is 73. Then this digital decimal equivalent is converted to binary equivalent. So computer doesn't read I, it reads 7367 like that. Okay. We can create binary, but that is not the intent right now. Okay. That is not what we need to learn. So now what we are trying to understand the idea about encryption. So I am sending ICAI. It will go through a communication channel. A hacker is listening to this communication channel. So he or she, maybe your hacker, will be able to listen to ICAI. I don't want that person to listen. So what I do, I code it. So I use a logic. So to the ASCII code, I add, say, 10. So to my converted values, I have added 10. And this has a character equivalent. So let us see what is the character equivalent of this decimal. See, so I want to say ICAI, but I'm not saying it. I am saying SMKS. Now, if anyone is able to listen to SMKS, he or she will not be able to draw any inference out of it. Why? Because there is no logic built into it. If the hacker had to draw any inference from this word SMKS, that individual must know the key, the code based on which this conversion has been done. Now, this process from where we have converted ICAI to SMKS is basically what we say encryption. You learn it. See, these words are important. They are part of the whole CA inter-syllabus that you are learning. Okay. This process is called as encryption. And the 10 I have used, it is what I call as key. So this 10 becomes my key to encrypt. Okay. Now, so here is my sender. This is the message. And here is my receiver. So receiver receives this message. Sorry. Yeah. So receiver has received this message. Now, receiver needs to interpret. So what he will do? Again, the alphabet has a code to it. So it is going to convert to the code. Then Because I'm sending the message, I tell the receiver that the key is 10. So what he does, he reduces 10 from the generated code. So he gets the, and now this has a character built into it. So now you get the real message, that is ICAI. Now this is a very good example to understand few very good words that they are part of your syllabus. First is encryption. So encryption is when from the normal text, that is ICAI here, ICAI here, you create a coded text SMKS. This process is encryption. Then there is a concept of key. Plus 10 in our example is key to encrypt. Plus 10 in our example is key to encrypt. This plus 10 is key to encrypt. Okay. Then process of decryption. Decryption is the code is generated, you minus 10, and then you generate the normal text again. So the normal text, key to encrypt, encrypted text, key to decrypt, and again normal. This is whole encryption. Now, these words are important. They are part of your syllabus. Okay. So encryption you have got, key you have got, decryption. Now, private key. So I'm giving you the definition of private key. I'll type it here. Private key. Where key to encrypt and decrypt are mirror images. So in our example, plus 10 and minus 10 are mirror. This becomes a private key system. So this itself will give you definition of public key system. So now you in the chat, please update the definition of public key system. And then once you update the definition, I'll give you live example. Yeah, binary language. Sunil, yes. So okay. So I think now, Darshan, your query is solved. So firewall is a hardware software based device to save your system from hackers and all that. Encryption is preventing the message being hacked, message being read out like that. Okay. That is how it is. So public key system, public key encryption will be where the key to encrypt and key to decrypt are not mirror images. जब वो mirror image होती है तो private key encryption, और जब mirror image नहीं होती है तो public key encryption. जो सबसे अच्छा example है of this is in a normal office, when you put a lock, when you close the office, so the key to open the lock and key to close the lock is same. That is private key system. But I think you must have gone to bank locker. So when you go to a bank locker, the key to open the bank locker is two. One is that is owned by the owner of the locker. Second is the master key of the banker. So when you want to open a locker, you have to put two keys into the locker cabin, locker chest. And when you want to close it, you can close it by your own owner's individual key. So where key to encrypt is not a mirror image of key to decrypt, that system is a public key system. That is. Okay. So definition is clear. Now, because you've asked a question that is part of your exam, so I'll answer that. Darshan, public key is called as public key. First, it is a system. Then in digital signatures that will be part of your syllabus. So the certifying authority, when they give you a digital signature certificate, they give you a public key with that. From the Information Technology Act, the controller, the main designated official within the Information Technology Act, who has responsibility of implementing the provisions, regulations, rules of the Information Technology Act, that controller authority mandatorily gets a copy of the all public key issued by all certifying authorities in India. Because this controller has all the copies of the public key, that is why that key is called as a public key. That is publicly made available by the certifying authority to the controller. Okay. That is why it is called as a public key. If we read IT Act, it is written in the law that as soon as subscriber gets a digital signature certificate, this subscriber must generate a private key on a secure system. So that private key will be only known to you as a subscriber. That is. Yeah, firewall can be built in OS also. Yes. Okay. So that was a discussion, but good to learn and know. So we'll get back to our slide. What do you? So these were the words. So now you understand, and you have, believe me, you have learned more than 10, 15 marks question across all CSC enter. Okay. Private key, public key, like that. In fact, just learning from you. Please say yes if you have learned the Information Technology Act. आप में से कितने लोग इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी एक्ट पढ़ चुके हैं? कृपा करके चैट में हाँ या ना कहें. Those of you have learned the Information Technology Act, please say yes and or no in the chat box. Then I'll get back on that. Then next is a technology called as callback devices. Now you need to understand what and how it is going to be work like. Let me read through, then I'll try to share a practical example on this. It is based on the principle that the key to network security is to keep the intruder off the intranet. So the idea is that prevention is better than cure. So if you do not allow third person to enter your intranet, that is the best way. So to ensure that no third person enters your intranet, one of the techniques is what is called as a callback device. Okay. So it's basically a preventive technique like that. Let us read through it. The callback device requires the user to enter a password, then system breaks the connection. If the caller is authorized, the callback device dials the caller's number to establish a new connection. This limits the access only from authorized terminals or telephone numbers and prevents an intruder masquerading. Masquerading means to present yourself as someone else, as a legitimate user. This also helps to avoid call forwarding and man in the middle attack. Now, a lot of technical words are there, but just remember. So callback device is a technique, a preventive technique to ensure that third person doesn't log to company's system. So before a genuine user logs in or before a genuine user is allowed access to system, his identity is established. Once the identity is established, the callback device calls back the user that now you can do your job. That is what is called as callback devices. Okay. So most of you have said that you have not learned it. So leave that. Okay. Okay. Let me, yeah. So some part IT Act. Okay. So when you learn, so just read through. There is a definition in the Information Technology Act called as asymmetric crypto system. Asymmetric. So in the definition, you will find that it talks about a public key and private key. Means it's a combination of keys which are not mirror images. So your digital signature certificate basically work on asymmetric crypto system where the key to encrypt and key to decrypt are not mirror images. That is how it works. So that word I wanted you to remember, asymmetric. Just remember that word, asymmetric crypto system. Yeah. Key, it's a definition in law. So when you read Information Technology Act, it is going to come to you. Okay. Then next is operating system access control. Now, please understand that operating system, the capability of operating system is phenomenal. So you need a lot of control in operating system like that. Okay. So operating system is a computer control program that allows users and their applications to share access common resources that we've talked about, what operating system can do. So you need a good control on that. So how you can do it? Through automated terminal identification. In fact, I don't know whether you know it, but like we have someone who have worked on, who have been in employment. If you join a large company, it can be Indian, international company. So the companies give you laptops, like they give you laptops, so you can use it while you are in the company. You can take the home your laptop and you access company system through that laptop. So every, like your mobile has an IMEI number, every laptop has something called as a MAC address that identifies an individual laptop. So whenever company hands over a laptop to you, that laptop's identity is tagged in company system. So you as a user will only be able to access company system when you log in through that laptop. So that terminal identification is an automated process. Okay. Then every person who is logging into the system, then he or she must give a password. So that is terminal login procedure. Then access token. Yeah, this is again important. Please understand the idea behind it, that these three words, just carry these three words, they work like together: terminal login, access token, and access control list. So I'll read through the process so you can learn easily. So whenever I log into system and whenever I want to enter a system, I need to log in. So through password, I log in. As soon as I log in, a electronic token is generated. What the token has? So the token has, when I logged in, the token will have detail of all the locations I go when I'm working in the company, like my also. That tells, that keeps a tag electronically, what I can do, what I cannot do. So these three terms are linked. Let us read through them. If the logon attempt is successful, the OS creates an access token that contains the key information about the user, the ID, user group, privileges granted. That is your access control list. Okay. And then whatever you do, it is listed on the access token. Access control list, this list contains information that defines the access privileges of the user. So this is there. The next word, we have talked about discretionary access control in previous chapter. The system admin usually determines who is granted as resource to specific resources. However, in distributed system, resources may be controlled by end users. So the owner may grant their access to a different person. Say, for example, we took example of a bank branch manager. So when he or she goes on leave, that bank branch manager gives access to the next higher official. That becomes discretionary access control. So you can always add examples beyond given. I need not repeat the examples of the module. Create your own examples. I am emphasizing that part. Okay. Then user identification and authentication. How user is identified? So a lot of methodologies are given. The best way of user identification is biometric. Okay. Then password management system for operating system you need to create. We have talked about use of system utilities. These are very specialized programs, so their use must be restricted. This one is good. Durasalam. I want to share a case on this. Durasalam to safeguard user. Duras is SOS, save me, Mayday. The first time I bought my laptop, in 25 years back, it was a Acer laptop. First time I bought it. So it hanged. Now, how to get out of a system hang of a laptop? I didn't know it then. Because see, general desktop, it if hangs and the control alt delete key is not working, so then you can power off and then desktop goes off and then you restart. But that option is not available in laptop immediately, because the laptop has an internal battery. So even if you power off, the laptop by internal battery is running. So then what to do? So I called my vendor from whom I had bought that laptop. So vendor told me, what you have to do, press the power button for 15-20 seconds. It's an emergency power off for a laptop. So I pressed it and then it restarted. So Durasalam. So the users need to be taught that how they have to get out from stressful or jam situation or stuck situation like that. Terminal timeout, you have already talked about that. If it is inactive for a specified period, log out. And limitation, yes. People cannot log in before 8 a.m. and they cannot remain logged in after 8 p.m. In fact, companies have these policies that you can only log in 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you want to log in before and after that, you have to take permission. So that keeps a tag of the person who is there on system, what he or she is doing, like that. Then we have queries. Yeah. Okay. So Swati has added that even if you work from home from that designated system, then you cannot go beyond a specific area. If you want to go beyond a specific area, you have to take permission from IT control department. Great. So see, technology is allowing a lot of updates, qualitative inputs to the way system is being used. Next. Application and monitoring system access control. Now, this is basically the users of application, what they are doing, keeping a tag of all those things. So information access restriction, we have talked about this, what information an individual can access, restriction. Then sensitive system can be kept isolated in a separate room, like servers we have been talking about. Event log, what has been done. So you can have an event log, it can be manual, it can be system driven as you feel good. Then how and what systems are being used. Clock synchronization, this is important. Event logs maintained across an enterprise network plays a significant role in correlating an event and generating report on it. Hence, the need for synchronizing clock time. Because see, like global enterprises, so there's the day in Japan and night in US. So you need very good clock synchronization so that everything is working properly. And control when mobile. Yes. In today's organization, computing facility is not restricted to data center. Ease of access on move provides efficiency. So this is not control of mobile. This is control when you are moving, like that. I'll just ask a question on that. So theft of data that you may be carrying on pen drives is very high. So you need to keep those things secured. So it's a very intensive discussion. Just 10 seconds break, not exactly a break, but you have 10 seconds to ask any question from this part, right? It has some inbuilt technicalities in it. So you can ask questions. So allow me by that time to bring the slide. Okay. So let us continue. So we talked about logical access control, physical access control, and environmental control. So what we'll do, we'll have again a rapid fire on this. So what I want, question one, you have to say whether it is environment, physical. So you have to say E, P, or L. Okay. So your answers will be environmental control, physical control, or logical control. So we are doing a rapid fire. So again, I'll just need to have a note of the questions. So I'm starting. So you will be answering question one. EPL is the option, environmental, physical, or logical. Security guard, password. So security guard, question one, security guard. Question two, password. Question three, CCTV. Question four, fire alarm. Question five, backup. Question six, insurance. Question seven, audit. Question eight, biometric. Question nine, ATM pin. And question 10. So this one I am changing. Okay. Air conditioner, ACs. So question one, security guard. Question two, password. Question three, CCTV. Question four, fire alarm. Question five, backup. Question six, insurance. Question seven, audit. Question eight, biometric. Question nine, ATM pin. And question 10, 10 is air conditioning. So you have to say EPL. No, Harshit, I couldn't get the question. Means you are saying most of the websites are asked to be controlled from left. Oh, it's because some features may not be. It's basically configuration, the display part of it, the navigation part. Okay. So let us do security guard, physical, password. The preventive detective, what was the question? You have to answer environmental, physical, and logical, EPL. Someone said D. Did I say D? No. Varsha. Preventive detective is not the question. Environment, physical, and logical is the question. Okay. You can redo. Yeah. Okay. So now, sorry. Here we are. Two systems, two mouse, one here, one there. Okay. Why D? So security guard is physical. Password is logical. CCTV. You have to look to the control aspect, physical. Okay. Fire alarm, environmental, we just talked about. Backup. So I'm waiting for question 5. What options you have taken? B, no. Logical. Okay, good. Insurance. Physical. Audit. 7th. Physical. Good. 8th. Biometric. Logical. Then ATM pin. Logical. And air conditioning. Environment. So give yourself scores. Yes, P. 9 is P. Physical. ATM pin. Logical. Give your score. Good. You may be slightly tough in putting the exact box like that. Okay. So now you can give yourself scores. So there's a query on insurance. Let me review my answer. Insurance. 8. Sunil gets 8. The Dikshita gets 9. Harshit gets 7. I'm reviewing insurance in terms of environment, physical, and logical. Okay. So let us keep the question. So let us keep this because see, what I'm basically trying to get into is when insurance is triggered. Okay. So say insurance can be triggered when there's a fire, so it becomes environmental. Insurance can be triggered when someone comes and uh, destroys your system, so that becomes physical. Insurance can be triggered when there is a hacking in your system, that becomes logical. So insurance is one that question 6 will do it again. So let us not take insurance into account. So you can take 1 marks for insurance. It's a good process of learning. Okay. Good. So good point, Darshan. So I'll be coming back on insurance again. It's a learning process. Great. So we have 8, 9, 7, and 6. So you can add Dikshita, if your insurance question was incorrect, you get 10 out of 10. Great. So good. So keep a tag of it. Now, coming to information controls in terms of the functions they are protecting, the functions they are working upon, that is. So if they are working for management, then your controls could be top management, system development management control, programming management control, data resource management control, security management control, operations management control, quality assurance, and management control. So top management control. Now, see basically how you look to this topic, how you can create a easy to remember aspect to that. See, you're looking for control. So what we basically need to understand that what function, what person is using the controls, for what purpose. Function, purpose, the control is being put in place. So that is how you can remember. So functions performed by senior management include planning, organizing, leading, controlling from your strategic management. So nothing for me to discuss here. So control on each aspect of these functions. This is good. In fact, this is one where control has to be put in place. And this one, I've talked about that there are few things which are going to create professional opportunities once you become member or chartered accountants like that. So this is one where you can learn, provide professional services once you become chartered accountant. That is part of system development team. This is phenomenal. So you need to have controls when you are going through the process of developing system. So from top to the bottom, it's basically phases of implementing system. Okay. So as of now, because that is not part of this syllabus like that, so I'm not bringing those phases, but each step is basically a phase of the system development process. So you need to have control on each of the phases. The first phase is called as means just remember the name. You need not remember it for exam, but only for understanding purpose. Okay. First is preliminary investigation is a phase of system development. So in that preliminary investigation, feasibility assessment is done. So feasibility assessment. Then next phase in system development, what we call as is system analysis, requirement analysis. That includes analysis of the present system. So that is, you need to have control on analysis of present, how it is being done. So the three basic steps in the second phase: analysis of present system, the proposed system, and the path forward from present system, how you are going to reach to the proposed system. That is phase 2. Then phase 2 is called as system design. So you see database design, physical, so control on all design aspects. This phase 3 is important because all internal controls are put in place, are imagined at this phase. This is technically called as system design. So first phase is in system development, you call as preliminary investigation. Second, we call as requirements system analysis. Third, we call as system design. Fourth is called as system acquisition. So you see acquisition. So proper control on hardware, software acquisition, and the way you are going to develop them. Then after you acquire, you have to test. So fifth phase is called as system testing. So whether acceptance and conversion testing is proper. Acceptance means the system is developed, user says it is as per my requirement. That is called as acceptance testing. Conversion is because you are implementing a new system, so you need to convert old data as per new requirements. So that conversion is proper. So conversion is data conversion, procedure conversion, system conversion. There are steps. So whether they have been done properly. So control on that aspect. And once you have implemented, system maintenance is the last phase, that is operation and maintenance. So this only this slide we can talk about at least 16 hours system development. It's a phenomenal topic to learn and get into once you become chartered accountants. Okay. So control on each aspect of system development. Then programming management controls, will go to the module for reading this through. So just allow me a second to go to the module. So we are reading through program. So I'll be only reading the key aspects, okay, not the detailed paras. I'll not be, you can go through the details of the as given in the paragraph. Okay. So program development implementation is major phase within the system. So the controls are needed at the planning phase, design phase, coding, testing, and operation maintenance. Now, system is the larger part. Program is part of that system development. So planning this phase estimates the resource required for software development, acquisition, and implementation. The importance and complexity of the planning decision can vary based on factors. So within system development, this is one part of it. So how you develop your program, how you design your program. Flowcharting we talked about. So flowcharting is part of this in chapter 1. Data flow diagram, flowcharts we talked about, that is part of this one. Okay. So the designing part is part of that. And the language that you are going to use is decided here. Based on that language, coding is done. So once program is coded, then you have unit testing. Unit testing is testing of the individual program. Integration testing, testing of one program's linked to other program. We have already taken example. We talked about in chapter 1, chapter 2, my purchase system is linked to my store system. So when an item's reorder level is hit, it must trigger a purchase requisition to my purchase system. Suppose I have built a new system. I want to see whether this integration is working, this link is working properly or not. So what I perform, an integration testing of the two modules, my inventory module and my purchase module. So that is called as integration testing, seeing whether one part of the system that is linked to other part of the system, whether they are working in synchronization, they are working correctly, cohesively or not. Then whole of the program which has been developed, testing of the whole program. And once you have implemented, then maintenance and operation of the program. 3 types of maintenance are there. I'll read and then I'll ask question. Okay, good. So I'm not discussing. You tell me what is the idea. Repair maintenance, adaptive maintenance, perfective maintenance. Which of the 3 is covered in accounting standard 10? Repair maintenance, adaptive maintenance, perfective maintenance. Which is covered in accounting standard 10? And you can take accounting standard 26 also like that. Tangible and intangible assets. Yes, Sunil, debugging is also part of it. But then it's a topic very near to my heart. So I enjoy talking about it. So repair maintenance. Okay. Accounting standard 10 or 26 as you want to take it, tangible, intangible assets. Oh, repair. Oh, okay. So let it be a learning exercise. Okay, let us learn. See, this intensity has to be like this. So suppose I see you say all repair. Okay. So now let me ask you this question. Define an asset. What is an asset? What is an asset? See, asset is also debit. Salary is also debit. But you take salary to P&L, you don't take asset to P&L, you take it to balance sheet. What is an asset? Yes, so this e-chocolate will go to Gundu Chandrasekhar. Perfective maintenance. It is linked to the definition of asset. You go to AS10, AS26. What adds to the working? What adds to the efficiency? What adds to the performance is an addition. What maintains performance is a revenue expenditure. Yes, something that generates future economic benefit, that adds value, that generates revenue over a period of time, that is an asset. Now link that definition to the definition of the 3 words. Which of the 3 is going to lead to additional benefits? Perfective maintenance. So that is linked to AS10. So this is how your understanding of things you can build in systems like that. And that is what is needed. And the last, the control phase, yeah, capitalizes. The control phase that runs in parallel to all the above during software development is what you may call as tracking through techniques called as WBS, work breakdown structure, Gantt charts, PERTs, CPM. You must have read CPM. That help keep track of the whole development process. We'll go to our slide. So data resource management control. So the topics, the definition, existence controls, backup. So see, data resource management is data being a critical resource. So you need to manage it. So proper controls have to be put. You need to ensure that their existence is controlled. You have proper backup. We've already talked about backup a lot. So backups have to be there. Then proper access controls have to be put in place. What a person can do, what he, she cannot do. If anyone is updating, then control on updates. We have done this exercise, but let us do at the cost of repetition. Let me ask the question again. In an employee database, you have name, date of birth, salary, and address. So of these 4 fields in an employee database, which cannot be further updated once created. Of these 4 fields in an employee database, which cannot be further updated once created. Yeah. So we have got, Darshan has a fast internet like that. So we have got the correct answer. The answer is date of birth. So this in database, you require all these controls to be put in place like that. So that is how systems are going to work. And database control is very, very intensive. We'll see in the next control, concurrency control. And we'll see how we can gain understanding of concurrency control. Okay. So update controls, then concurrency. Now see, understand that day before yesterday's discussion, we talked about database as a key characters of sharing. So people can access database from multiple locations like that. So database is a shared resource. We compared that to file systems previously 40 years back and what benefit database has brought to the people now, because it's a shared resource. Now, because it's a shared resource, it creates a number of issues that need to be tracked. Security issues come, so that you need to track through access control, that you need to track to update control. And another third aspect is what is called as concurrency control. Concurrency means because it's a shared resource, in theory, the probability of same data being accessed by 2 persons at the same moment of time may be less, but the situation may arise. So when same resource is accessed by 2 people together, you have to have a logic built-in system to get beyond this situation. This situation is basically called as concurrency. Now what I'm doing, I'm putting a practical case to you. Okay, I want you to say how in this situation concurrency will be managed. How concurrency is managed, I am giving you some idea. Then you answer that. So see, concurrency can be managed in, there are ways of managing concurrency. One way of managing is that in system, some rules are created. That if more than one person accesses a common database, then within there is a hierarchy built in system. That if this, suppose 5 people have accessed a resource, then in system rule is given that if in this file, managing director is also a person who is accessing, he or she is going to get the first access. So you can predefine access. Right. So this person has a first right. That is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is you ask all the users to roll back. Like in running, there could be a photo finish. I think we understand what is photo finish. So when there is a photo finish, you ask a rollback. Rollback means all the persons who have accessed the database concurrently, they are asked to roll back and redo the transaction. So in this rollback mechanism, there is a chance that one person gets to the data first. Okay. Now I'm giving a question to you. This location has been hit by concurrency. I'll tell you the resource also. I'll tell you the people who are accessing it. Based on your understanding, you have to say which rule you are going to use. First rule is predefine access. Second rule is rollback. So two rules, predefine, rollback. So based on the situation, you have to say whether it is going to be predefined access or a rollback access. And whatever you say, you will have to give a conclusion that this is how it is going to be resolved. So let me put this here. Just give me, it's a good question to learn. So what we are basically looking at, so creditors ledger is the, okay, now access this common resources accounts for updating payment. Good question has come. Let me explain also. Before you start answering, let me explain. So, so accounts is accessing this resource and stores is also accessing this resource. Now, what is the idea that accounts is like, it's a creditor, so account is there to make payment. And because material has been received, now see what happens. Again, to the top quality management system in chapter 2 ERP system, we talked about cotton yarn. So what happens that the moment you purchase a product, the quantity you can check there and then, but quality may require some time to do. Okay. So in fact, I had some time, we visited a big engineering unit. They were using sheets. So what used to happen that suppose the sheet is received today, the quality issue doesn't arise. If quality issue arises during manufacturing, means it may take 30 days because the thinness and the proper, like it is measured in millimeter. So 0.1 mm thinness can make a difference in manufacturing process. So the quality aspect comes during manufacturing. So there can be a time gap. Okay. Now what you're looking at, so creditors ledger is here. Accounts want to make a payment and during manufacturing, a quality issue is come. So stores person is raising a debit note and at the same moment of time, they have accessed the creditors ledger. The issue is concurrency. You have two rules, priority setting, rollback. Now I want you to tell which you are going to follow. Okay, Swati, let me explain the issue again. My common resource is creditors ledger. Accounts is accessing to make payment. Stores is accessing to raise a debit note. Okay. So the common resources, the concurrency is hitting my creditors ledger. Only two options, either a rollback or a predefined. So this imagination has to come to us. Just Few more seconds for more answers. I've got 2-3 answers. I want more. Yeah, we have got. Good. So, yeah. So see, given the situation that you are looking at, so I'll read the name and the person who has given the correct answer. So Dikshita, predefined. Gundu Chandrasekhar, predefined. And Varsha has put it absolutely correctly. Priority, even in predefined, priority to stores. Yes, because debit note, raising a quality debit. Suppose my vendor's account, my creditor's account, say 1 crore is payable, and stores is raising a debit note of say 50,000 quality debit note. My net payable will be reduced by 50,000. So in this given situation, stores has to be given a predefined priority access. Great. That is, you got the idea. This is when you create systems and this understanding. See, concurrency is an issue, but will a technical person understand in this situation that how to resolve it? Who will understand? Only you and me. That is where this technology and your understanding of technology and how to create system has to create a lot of opportunities to all of you once you all become chartered accountants. So that is great in this. Learned it. So this aspect. So whenever you go for audit next time, I want this understanding of this system, the way it is operating. In your process of auditing, you build that process, build that system into it. That is. So it's a very intensive topic. So concurrency control. And then quality, ensuring that the database quality is good. Yes, very important. Then security management plans, controls. Yes. So now insurance is coming. So let us learn. Let us go to the module. See, we want to place insurance at, we have kept that answer pending. So let us read and try to learn where to keep insurance. So we'll go to the module. So security management controls, information security admins are responsible for ensuring information system assets categorized under personal hardware, everything is secured. So when disaster strike, two basic ideas have to be put in place. Yeah, this is important. Disaster recovery plan and insurance. Now, disaster recovery plan. So I'll be asking question. Let me read this para and we will be answering question on DRP. Disaster recovery plan deals with how an organization recovers from a disaster and comes back to normal operation. The plan lays down the policy guidelines, procedures for all information system persons. So how they are going to work through. A comprehensive disaster recovery plan has 4 parts. So I'll read the part, then I'll ask the question. Emergency plan, backup plan, recovery plan, test plan. So there are 4 plans that you are looking at. First is emergency plan, backup plan, recovery plan, and test plan. Now, what I want you to answer, of these 4 plans, 2 plans are in execution, 2 plans are already implemented before disaster. इन 4 में से 2 ऐसे प्लान हैं जो डिजास्टर के पहले ही इंप्लीमेंट हो गए हैं, 2 डिजास्टर के बाद ट्रिगर होते हैं, 2 पहले होते हैं डिजास्टर के और 2 बाद में होते हैं. तो आई वांट यू टू आंसर which of the out of these 4 are actually in use before disaster and which are triggered post disaster. Your answer to the question will help us understand how disaster recovery plan is working. Yes, Varsha. Yes, it's a large opportunity, yes, because systems are being implemented. So large opportunity for all of you who are in process of becoming chartered accountants. So my question was, of these 4 plan, how which of the 2 are triggered before disaster and which of the 2 are triggered after disaster? I'll just refresh. Good. So, okay. Yeah. So this e-chocolate will go to Rajiv Kumar Singh. Uh, Test plan and backup plan are before disaster. Yes, you have to take backup before disaster. Test that your disaster recovery plan is working properly. Fire extinguisher is working. You have to test before putting it in place. And then emergency and recovery plan are post disaster. So this tells. So this answers another question. Disaster recovery plan is working before disaster, after disaster. So it's already working before disaster because backup and test plan are done before disaster occurs. So if you have proper backup and testing of that, then it is going to be a good help. So that is disaster recovery plan and insurance. Insurance is a contract by a policy in which an individual or entity receives financial protection or reimbursement against losses from an insurance company. Adequate insurance must be able to replace information system assets, extra cost of working with normal operation, and hardware assets also. So we are learning insurance. We will classify one day it as physical, logical, environmental, but let us learn. So that is the controls for DRP and insurance. Now, we are in the last part. So what we'll do, we'll first take the MCQs. And then if time permits, we'll come back to the module again. So I'll take the MCQ. Just give me time. So kindly answer by question number and your options so that if there's a delay submission, we can recheck. Okay, so 1C was a giveaway. C. Great. Good. 2C. Very good. Others are logical. Take time, no worry. Take your time. Let us see the answer. Now, I did try to give a lot of hint for this question to all of you. So I shared that what role chartered accountants can play. Yeah. So to this, we'll take B and C both as, because both options are there. The B, system development, because it's a large part of the program itself. So B is the most appropriate. So who is going to be the user of taxation software? Some tax consultant. So when you say acceptance testing, the user tests whether it is going properly or not. Fifth, we have done very well. Yeah, four is tricky. In fact, yes, I've tried to make them tricky, Harshit. Yes. Yes. I expected all of you to do C good. So most of you have sent 5C. That is good. Sixth, you can guess out. Sixth is we have to take. So I'll allow you to guess sixth. Of the of the four words, it was only the last we talked about. Okay. So that could have been an easy guess. Yeah. Sixth, this one is giveaway. Rest we have all talked about. This we have not done, but I think you have read these words, huh? Even we might not have discussed here, but then I understand you have read these words. Transposition error. the locational position of the digits have changed. In fact, there is a check N11 module. I don't know whether you've read it. It is a control to identify transposition errors. Okay, I'll give you a live example of this. Just give me a second. Let me give you a live example of this. But this, all words are important. Just let me give you an example. Just give me a second. It's good to understand this. Yeah, transposition, but because all the other words are important, so let us share this example. Suppose this is the number that has to be fed. Now, what I'm doing, there are errors. So one error is called as, kindly carry this, this is part of the syllabus. Transcription. Another is called as transposition. So if my number is this, then I may make mistakes. So I'm writing my mistakes. Suppose I'm feeding, this is my original number. Now, what mistakes I can do? So these are the error locations. So I'll just, here are the errors. Here I can make the errors. So I'm putting these errors here. Now I can feed this number as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have removed a digit. So this is also called an error of, just remember this one, this is important. Truncation, where I have removed a number, I have reduced the number of digits. So this is called as error of truncation. Then I can do, this is called as error of addition. I have added a number. Then I can do, I have changed a number. This is called as error of substitution. And all these red colors are, their basic definition is these are all errors of transcription. So the core error is transcription. Within transcription, it can be truncation, addition, or substitution. That is one category of it. The other category of error is transposition. So how does it look like? 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is another technicality added to this. I'll just write that. This where location of two consecutive digits have been changed. There is a single such error, so it is sometimes called as single transposition error. Or if I do multiple mistakes, then this may be called as multiple transposition errors. So this is how it looks like. So transcription error, truncation, addition, substitution, transposition error, single, multiple. The core difference in truncation and transcription is that in transcription, the original digits change. Like you reduce a digit, like you add a digit, like you change a digit, substitute. In transposition, the original digits don't change, their relative position changes. So that is, now let us go to the question. But this is good, huh? Do carry these words. This is part of syllabus. Yeah. So here it was transposition, then substitution, addition, and truncation. In fact, just because see, when we did our articleship, we'll within 5-10 minutes, we'll end. Okay. So when we were doing our articleship, and I told you that during our articleship, there was manual trial balance. So one of the first things to do was tally the debits total of the trial balance to the credit total of the trial balance. So one of the technique was finding the difference in the debit and credit totals. So if the difference in debit credit total was a number that was divisible by 9, if a number difference is divisible by 9, it is basically a transposition error, the locational change to the digits. So that is how we learned that. Okay, we have Shubham has put a good question. I'll answer that. Let you answer this. Yeah, that's an omission is truncation. Yeah, Shivranjini, this part is, you need to make, that is why I'm adding more examples. This part is slightly to be remembered. Resilience, we took it practically. Okay. I'll come back to your question, Shubham. I think we have one more question. Yeah. And then this is the last question for the day. Then I'll take your question. Yeah, good. 10A. So we have so we have already scored 300 triple century in our chat. Now going to the question put by Shubham. So I'm going back to the related. Yeah. So let me put the question put by Shubham in practical sense. What Shubham has said that, sir, if the number is exactly reversed, so suppose the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, and the operator has type written it as 4, 3, 2, 1. No, Shubham, you call it as multiple transposition. That is. So that is for the day. Any questions you have? Great. So we'll just thank you. So we'll close. We'll meet again day after and complete chapter 3. Keep any questions pending for learning. Yeah. Okay, Shivranjani, I have tried to answer your question, Shivranjani, but then you need to create some ways of remembering. Yeah. So we are closing. Bye. Good night.